If you find something you love that you really, really love to do, and there's a business around it, do that, because you'll have things that happen to you during the process that, like the things that I told you about, or, things for me like meeting, Richie Havens, for those of you who know who Richie Havens was. He's the first artist that played at Woodstock in 1969. And he came in my shop and told me his life story and gave me a guitar lesson. And he was like one of my idols. When I was in high school, I had his albums, and I thought he was like, I never thought I'd ever meet him. And I got to be friends with him before he died. And that was just, that's just one thing. And
It's not every podcast gets to record inside a living piece of Louisiana music history, but today we do. We're at International Vintage Guitars in Oakdale, initially opened in New Orleans over 2 decades ago. Let me welcome Louisiana legend Steve Staples. He is a lead guitarist who has been making music that blends genres and blows minds. Shop owner who has connected musicians from all walks of life to unique instruments. A man's whose journey carries more stories than most could fit in a lifetime. I'm honored to be joined with Mr. Steve. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Nice introduction.
I was kind of nervous I want to send this episode. I want it to be spot on, I guess, but you are listening to Third Coast Podcast, the best podcast in the state of Louisiana.
Amen.
So you excited for Void, Mr. Steve?
Oh, I'm really excited for it, yes.
And if y'all ain't bought tickets yet, make sure to go to www.vetdevoid.com and buy tickets, because they're almost sold out. The best event in Central Louisiana. Mr. Steve, I got a couple of questions for you.
All right.
Being in business for over 2 decades, what is the secret? Is there a secret?
I don't know if there's a secret that's a general secret for everyone, but I part of it for me is that I love what I do. And once I learned how to exist in the guitar world, I fell in love with it, and it's what I've invested. I'm super interested in it, and I keep up with it. And in other words, I keep up with guitars and all the stuff that goes along with guitars and guitar players and styles and all that kind of stuff. I've been doing that since I was like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And then I just never lost that interest. And I think maybe feeling passionate about guitars and music and understanding how to sell them. And then, after a while, you get to know a lot of people. And once you're established, it seems like, it's not as hard as all that. If I don't know something about the business, I have friends that have been in the business longer than me who are still alive, and I just call them on the phone and ask them, or if I have a guitar that I don't know how to sell, I'll call somebody up and say, hey, can you help me sell this? Or what do you know about this? Or who do you know that might be interested in this? And it just works out. It's a great network of really great people mostly. And, I think for me, it's just being in love with what I do. So when the times got hard, I have thought a few times about not doing it anymore, but it just never got to that point.
So, did your shop originally was a vintage guitar shop
Yep.
from the start?
From the start.
So, what got you into vintage guitars versus just the run of the market guitars?
Well, when I was in music school, and before that, but I I got a part-time job working at a place in New Orleans called Foster's Guitar Shop. And it was it was a man who was a guitar player who was a real luthier who built guitars, and a bunch of people that worked for him who were really great guitar players and great luthiers, artists in that respect. And I got a job working at his place while I was in music school at Loyola, and I fell in love with it. And that's where I got exposed to the world of vintage guitars. I had vintage guitars before that. I owned them and played them and I loved them, but it wasn't, but at that time in the world, they weren't really, expensive. They were just used guitars. They weren't quote vintage. It was a used guitar and they were a lot cheaper. Now, the prices of them, depending on the guitar, are astronomical in some instances and ridiculous, in my opinion, in some others. But nevertheless, there it is. I got interested in it while I was in music school and had a job working at a guitar store that sold vintage guitars. So that's how it happened.
And with that too, the vintage amps, I can see all around deck falls into it too.
Oh yeah, sure does. It's a combination of the two.
What's the strangest or rarest piece of gear that has ever walked through your shop doors?
Well, that amp over there is one of the strangest, but and very rare. But I've had, I think, how many have I had? I've sold 3 59 or 60 Les Pauls. That's like the holy grail of guitars. I've had 4 of them in the shop, but I've sold 3. And those are quite you don't see many. They only made 1,900 of them. So,
Oh, all right.
you know,
So with that amp over there, what makes it so rare? The
well,
Metro?
it's made by Gibson and it's from 1955 and it's unusual because it was made for accordions and it has 4 8-inch speakers in it.
Huh.
Instead of like 112 or 110 or 2 10s. It has 4 8-inch speakers in it. And you can see how the way it looks, it's sort of Art Deco-ish and it sounds amazing. And, it's a rare amp, it's the first one I've ever seen in person. And there's very little, I don't know how many they made. I haven't been able to find out, but there's very little. There's only a few that I've even known that have ever sold. Only 2 that I know of. I'm sure there've been lots of others, but they're hard to find and they're very unusual.
When you come across something, a piece of gear or a guitar like that, how do you place a value on something that's vintage like that?
Well, I mean, there's so much on the internet, and I know people too. So, you find out what they're selling for, and then you look at the piece, and if it plays well and sounds fantastic, and it looks great, then you'll ask more for that kind of a piece than what the actual market value is, and usually get it if it's a nicer piece. But the guitars basically, and the amps sell themselves. You just have to put them out there for people to find out. And nowadays you have Reverb and eBay and Facebook Marketplace, and in a day, thousands of people will know about the fact that you have it. And if there's usually stuff sells pretty quick. Sometimes it doesn't. You just don't ever know. The market's really funny these days with the economy up and down, and everybody kind of scared about everything right now. But things still sell themselves. Like for an instance, I had a guitar that I bought. I paid more for it than I thought it was worth. But it was the only way I was going to get it. And it was a 59 Les Paul Jr. And, I wasn't sure what it was worth. I called a friend of mine who has a shop in Dallas and talked to one of his salespeople. And he said, this guitar's worth $10,000.
Jesus.
And I said, you think so? He goes, yeah, I think you have a $10,000 guitar there. So I put it up on the internet and I asked $10,000 for it. And, some guy from the Netherlands, texted me. Then he called me on the phone. He said, I want it. And we made arrangements and he paid me for it. And I sold it for, between $9,000 and $10,000. And he paid for the shipping, and that was it. So it was,
wow.
I mean, it took like about 3 days from when I got it to when I sold it.
So do you sell a lot of your, instruments and gear online and across the world? Because Netherlands, that's a far reach to sell a guitar. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've sold guitars to people in Africa, people in a lot of people in Europe, people in Japan, Hong Kong, Canada, South America. Yeah, everywhere.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, just
and only ever lost one guitar.
You lost a guitar?
Well, I shipped a Martin guitar to the Middle East, and the UPS driver left it on the porch of a house, and somebody stole it.
How much did that cost?
I don't know. It was a $3,000 or $4,000 guitar. I mean, it was insured, so I got my money back, but that's the only one I ever lost. Even the post office, I use the post office a lot of times to ship them, and they use other post offices to deliver them in the other countries, and never have lost one. I had one go missing for 30 days, but they found it. But that's it. I never lost one.
Hey, that's an impressive thing you can throw out there when you're promoting your business.
In 33 years, we've been open 33 years, so that's, yeah.
I had 2 that's 3 golly, that's a long time. Did you ever, when you started out and you opened up your first day, did you ever think that you would be still going with this 33 years later?
I never thought about the future that in that regard. I never thought about, I wonder if I'll be doing this when I get older. I mean, I went to a lot of guitar shows where they had guys that I watched them get older. They were old when I met them, when I opened the shop, and they stayed in the business. So, and there's lots of guitar players that are still playing that are older, and they still play really well. So, I didn't thank God for the Rolling Stones. But because they set an example, so that was just, I never thought about it in that regard, but it was never anything that I've lost interest in doing, so why not keep doing it as long as I can walk?
Yes, sir. Do you believe certain guitars hold mojo from previous owners?
Oh yeah. Regardless of whether the owner's famous or not. But sometimes because the owner is famous, the guitar definitely has mojo. I mean, there's a few guitars that I could talk about that have incredible mojo, but, some guitars I've had, as soon as you take them out of the case and play them, you go, oh boy, I know why it's beat up, because the guy, whoever had it, played it all the time because it's such a great guitar.
If you could name one, is there one out there that just stands out above the rest?
You mean in the whole world that I know about?
Yeah. Or personally?
Well, there's a few. I mean, I think that the guitar that Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac had, that now I think the guy from Metallica has it. Gary Moore had it I think he bought it from Peter Green's wife or his family. And then, after he passed away, I think his wife sold it to, I forget his name, but the lead guitar player from Metallica, Kurt Hammett. He's got it now. That's a Les Paul, 59 Les Paul. It's all over. I mean, Peter Green's, there's videos of Peter Green playing it in Fleetwood Mac. It's fantastic. And then there's videos of Gary Moore playing it all over the world. And then, now Kurt Hammett has it, and I've seen some videos of him playing it. So that's probably one of the ones that stands out. Paul McCartney's, Hofner bass is one that he played in the Beatles. I think it was the second one that he had because one of them was stolen and it's never been recovered. I don't think. Maybe it has, but I read a story that it hadn't been recovered yet. But he's, or maybe he does have it back. But anyway, the second one that he got in the Beatles, he still plays, and it's an amazing sounding bass. I mean, it's just great. That's probably the two that I would think of first. But if I really put my thinking cap on, there's a lot of them. The black Strat that David Gilmour played in Pink Floyd. Eric Clapton's Blackie that was parts of guitars that were put together. That's another one. I don't remember how much that one sold for. But yeah, there's
definitely Mojo behind used previous guitars.
Oh, yeah. And usually because, I mean, if you think about it, if somebody famous played the guitar, they played it for a reason because it was a great guitar. So they picked it out and played it, like Duane Allman's Les Paul, or those, they played it and they played it because they were fantastic. If it wasn't a good guitar, they would have just discarded it and got another one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So the guitar already had mojo, and then they played it, and now it's got more mojo. What a lot of people, I think, forget is that, vintage guitars do sound really, really good, and usually a lot of the times they've lost weight over the years because the wood dries out and they sound better and better. But most guitars that you hear on records from the past were new when they were played on the records. The guys just got them, and then they got money, and then they bought a really nice guitar most of the time, not all the time. Like Duane Allman's guitar was a 59 Les Paul when he got it, so it was older, but it still had that specialness of the way that it was built in the pickups from 59. But a lot of guitars that you hear on records were brand new, or newer. They weren't really old vintage guitars. So, but they do sound. But vintage ones do have some. When the pickups age and the wood dries out, and they've settled in, then they tend to sound better the more they've been played.
Like a good pair of boots when they're finally
broken. Like a
broken.
good pair of boots.
That might be
a nice saddle.
Yeah, it's a little country right there for y'all listeners out there. So when you were in business down in New Orleans, throughout the years, there's been a couple of major hurricanes that happened and major flooding, Katrina, Isaac, and Ida. How did that affect your business when y'all were in New Orleans?
Well, I think it was in 2005 is when Katrina hit. And we were down in the business district in New Orleans, across the street from Lucy's retired surfers bar, and across the street from the Renaissance Hotel on that corner on Chapatoulas and Girard Street. And we had built up the business really well. We had lots of vintage guitars. We had, um, the year before, I think the Saints won the Super Bowl. Or I forgot when exactly that was, but nevertheless, business was really good in 2005. And, we were a Gibson dealer, we were a Fender dealer, we were a Gretsch dealer, I think. And so we had all the great new stuff, and we had all the great vintage stuff, and we had great walk-in traffic. We had movie stars coming in the shop all the time. We had people who were traveling to New Orleans who were tourists coming in, people going to conventions. And it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal year. And then Katrina hit, and that was it. And it shut us down. And we didn't even have power. I mean, Katrina hit at the end of August, and we didn't even have power in the guitar shop till towards the end of October. No electricity. And it was hot. And,
oh yeah.
And a lot of but we didn't, and two sides of our store were solid glass from almost floor to ceiling were glass windows. And right down the street was Emerald's restaurant. And they had guys that broke into all the restaurants and stole all the whiskey and wine and beer that they had. And they were breaking into stores, but they never broke into our store. Didn't break one window, so we didn't have anything stolen, or we didn't have any vandalism or theft. But we didn't have any power, and we didn't have any business. I mean, New Orleans was shut down. The only people living there were people who were workers or police or army people or whatever, and we didn't. I mean, it just killed us as far. I mean, we were like doing. We were doing large numbers every month, and Katrina just stopped all that, and it didn't come back, and when it never really came back to that kind of the economy for us in the guitar business never came back to that pitch, but it did get better and better and better, and then, the Deepwater Horizon, was that what they're called? Anyway, it was an oil well that blew up out in the.
Oh yeah. Was that the BP spill?
Yeah, the BP spill.
Yes, sir.
And that hurt business really, really bad as well, because there was no seafood that people. It was, people quit coming.
I never thought about that spill and how it affected New Orleans.
Well, people come to New Orleans to eat.
Oh yeah, well that.
And so it really affected the tourist business, and that affected us. And that was really bad. We got no help from the government on either one of those. We applied for a small business hardship loan for Katrina, and they were all, oh, well, we can, you're qualified to get this and this and this. And we went to LSU to the business school. We filled out. We got them to help us with it, and they were glad to do it. And we got all the paperwork. It was like tons of paperwork. We said it all done. And then almost 2.5 years later, they said, well, we'll give you this amount. And it was like $12,000. I mean, we just said, no, well, we're not going to. And they wanted us to sign our houses over as collateral.
Oh, no.
So,
they're quick to take it, but don't want to give it back when you need it.
Amen. But we didn't, I mean, we were flabbergasted by the amount of, unconcern that they had about, helping out small businesses in New Orleans. It was tragic.
And I'm assuming that you knew other business owners in the area that was suffering the same type of loss you were.
And had the same story. I mean, the exact same story with the Small Business Administration loans. The same exact story.
Sounds about right though with the government sometimes.
Yeah.
So, you have had legends like Billy Gibson visit the shop.
Gibbons, not
Gibbons,
Gibbons, not
my
Gibson. Gibbons,
Gibbons,
Gibbons.
um, who has surprised you the most when they walk through your doors?
Bob Dylan.
Oh, you've met Bob Dylan's came into the shop?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
that scared me.
That's amazing. What did he buy something or he just
He
came
didn't
in?
buy anything, but he was really, really nice. He rode up on a bicycle. He was dressed. He had on sunglasses. He had a green denim, like a Levi's jacket on, and he had green denim shorts that went down to a little bit past his knees, big baggy shorts. He rode up on a bicycle, and not a fancy bicycle, just a regular bike with no gears or anything. And he came in, and I didn't even recognize him. And he walked in and he started looking at the guitars and walked around. I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "No, I'm just going to look around." I didn't know who he was. So he was standing over where on the wall where all the guitars was, and he picked up a guitar. I think it was a Telecaster, and he put his foot up on the amplifier and put the guitar on his knee, and he was playing and kind of singing to himself. And I walked over to him to ask him if he needed any help or if he had any questions. And when I walked up to him, I was, this far. I was 6 inches away from him, and I recognized him, and my knees started shaking. And I looked back at the counter to Bob, my friend, the guy that worked for me. I said, "It's Bob Dylan. It's Bob Dylan." He goes, "I know." Anyway, he didn't buy anything, but he was really, really nice, and it was just an honor to have him in there. And now he was the one that surprised me the most that he came in. I was really surprised to see him. A lot of other people I was surprised to see that came in too. And you're always kind of surprised. Everyone's very different, but there have been a lot of really interesting experiences.
I seen that you sold a guitar to Machine Gun Kelly too, right?
2 guitars.
2 guitars?
I wasn't even there.
Oh, that's when you know business.
I was on tour with the Iceman Special, and the guy that worked for me said, "There's a guy here." Hunter was looking at the internet on his phone. He was looking at Facebook, and he says, "Steve," he goes, "Machine Gun Kelly just bought 2 guitars from your store and he posted it online in front of the shop holding the 2 guitars." So yeah, that happened.
Oh, that's dope on so many levels. And
oh yeah, I sold 3 guitars to Bruno Mars.
What? I never knew that. That is cool.
I sold. I sold some guitar. I sold a guitar to Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Wow, Flea's one of my idols.
He came in and spent like 2 or 3 hours with me. Told me his life story. Played the guitar. Just me and him. No one else was in there. It was great.
That's a hell of a memory, Mr. Steve, right there.
Yep.
Yeah, because Flea is one of the reasons why I picked up the bass guitar. I am nowhere near close to his skill level, but him and like Paul Gray from Slipknot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But and you met all these people just from your original idea of, I want to open this shop and sell vintage guitars, and all the cool people that you have met, not just with touring, but just in your business, is amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just, if I look back on it, it's just been amazing how the people I've got to spend time with. I mean, quality time with, real time, not just like they come in and they buy something, but, just Steve Earle, Marty Stewart, Billy Gibbons. I got to be really good friends with him because he just, I don't know why, but a friend of mine brought him. They were at the, a friend of mine who's a guitar player who bought a lot of guitars from me was at the Camellia Grill at the corner of St. Charles and Carrollton. And Billy Gibbons came in and sat down right next to him, and he said, "You know any cool guitar shops around here?" And my friend said, "I sure do. I'll take you there." So he brought him over to the shop. and we met and we hit it off. I mean, it's just one of those things where we just hit it off. And he came back. He did. I was a Gibson dealer at the time, and there was a guitar that Gibson made that I was really in love with. It was called an ES 295, and they were gold. All of them were gold. They were painted gold when they made them in the 50s and early 60s. Then they stopped making them, and I wanted a blue one. And I was a Gibson dealer, and I called the custom shop up and I said, "Can you make me a blue one?" And they said, "No." They said, "Those guitars are only gold, and we're not going to make them. We're not going to, make a blue one for you, so that there's one out there that's not the way that it's supposed to be." And I said, "Well, okay." And so Billy Gibbons wanted to buy a guitar from me, and it was a 56 or 57 Les Paul Gold Top with a broken neck. And he said, "I want to buy that guitar." And I said, "Well, look, I'll sell it to you for cheap because I want to get a blue ES 295, and I bet if you call Gibson and ask them to build one for you, they'll do it." Because he played Les Pauls. I mean,
Yeah.
mostly then. Now he plays all kinds of stuff. But he said, "Okay." And he called them, and within a month, they had it at my front door.
Do you still have that one?
No, I sold it.
Oh, okay.
But he's a great guy. He was just really, really nice fella.
Wheeling and dealing. That's
Wheeling
smart.
and dealing. He's always wheeling and dealing.
So how do you balance the business side of selling of a particular instrument with your personal love for collecting them too?
It's really hard. Well, I mean, I think at the beginning, I amassed a large collection of amps and guitars, but I just, when in hard times, they're easy to sell. So, and then also I just figured, just having guitars around that I wasn't playing while I was running a business and playing in bands, it was like I needed to limit that. So I sold most of them, I sold, and I don't really, there's a couple that I let go of that in retrospect, I wish I would have kept that one, but only a couple.
Oh, all right. I was just wondering if there's ever been like someone come in and you have one like on kind of like display or something, but don't have a price tag on it.
That's happened.
And they're like, "I don't care how much it costs, I want that."
That's happened.
Oh, okay. And that's been rough sometimes. Well, not rough.
Well, I mean, probably the best guitar that I ever owned was a 1964 Strat. I've got a picture of me playing it in the vault, I think. And a doctor from, what's that big city? I forgot the name. Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's this huge city. He was from there, and he and another doctor were there at a convention in New Orleans, and they came in, and I had this personal guitar of mine, this 64 Strat that was just phenomenal. And I just said, "It's not for sale." And he said, "Okay." And then, a few days later, when he got home, he called me back on the phone, and he said what you said. He said, "Whatever it takes, I want that guitar." So I said, "Well, this is how much it is." And he said, "Okay." So he paid me probably twice what it was worth.
Ooh, that's crazy that how I wish I could say money don't matter on certain situations and just be able to buy whatever.
Well, yeah, there's people out there that can do that. I've experienced them.
So being in the guitar business for over 30 years, what has changed in the industry from the beginning to now when it comes to selling guitars?
Well, a lot. First of all, the prices have gotten, compared to used to, a regular person could save up or figure out a way to buy a guitar that was a really fantastic vintage guitar. I mean, I bought some in myself, you know, and but now some of those prices are. Well, what happened is that, you know, they have these things. We have guitar shows that are like gun shows, and all the dealers go. A lot of dealers used to. All the dealers would go to them. And when I first got into business, and there was tons of stuff. And what's happened is that collectors and people have become aware of the value of guitars and the cool Mojo factor, which is they're very attractive. They've become icons. If you watch a movie these days, you're going to see a guitar in one scene or another. It's going to be in the background or whatever, but there's always guitars in movies, and people have guitars made for different reasons and advertising. They're just a beautiful way to make expression of art that's functional. And I mean, you've seen it. I mean, Prince had these guitars that he had made that were just bizarre, wild looking things, but you know, they're iconic.
Yeah.
So
kind of like,
but here's what happened is that the internet came along and people wrote books about guitars and people got interested in them. And so all the information about guitars became public knowledge. It's easily, if you have, you know, just a little bit of curiosity, you can go on the internet and search and find, you know, how much guitars are worth, what they're actually selling for compared to what prices are, if you want to go that far. And so now that everybody knows, people that are selling them want more for them, and you know, why not? Than what they would normally have. You see it on Pawn Stars, you know, where the guy comes in, he says, I have this guitar, and he calls a buddy in, he comes in, he goes, how much is it worth? And the guy says, oh, it's worth $25,000. And then Rick always says, so the question is, how much do you want for it? And the guy says, I want $25,000 for it. And Rick goes, that's what it's worth. But if I pay you $25,000 for it, I have to sell it for more than what it's worth.
Yep.
So that's what's happened. And that's what's increased the prices, because vintage guitar dealers have to have vintage guitars. And there's lots of guys that have figured out ways around that, or a way to enhance that so that, you know, like I have a friend or a guy that I know, I wouldn't say he's a friend, but he has a guitar shop and he only sells guitars that are just excellent or above excellent quality. And I'm sure he has a large parts inventory so that if he'll buy a guitar knowing that I can fix this one up and with the right parts from the right years and make it really nice. And then he asks a lot more for his guitars, and he sells all of them. And people know that they can go to him, and if he has what they're looking for, that it'll be a fantastic guitar. You know, so
yes, sir.
I've sold a number of, well, not a bunch, but a handful of guitars to Joe Bonamassa, and he's like he is very, like, he comes in, he plays a guitar for 10 minutes and he goes, I want it. How much is it? And I tell him, and he says, well, I'll give you this for it. And he always gives you a good price. Or at least he's always given me a good bid on the guitar. And, you know, so it's easy to do business with him. And I've sold him a couple of guitars that he still has. He hasn't sold them or anything.
So do you buy guitars too also?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, how would I get
business? Well, yeah.
Of course I buy them. And I sell people's collections for them. Guys will call me up and they, you know, I can't afford to buy their whole collection. I say, but I can sell it for you. And they bring like 35 or 40 guitars over here and I sell them for them. They're not hard to sell if they're good guitars.
I never realized that selling guitars was such an easy task as you're making
well,
it.
It's not always an easy task. Sometimes it's very complicated. I mean, like, you know, I'll just because things go wrong with them, and customers can be fickle. like one of the really expensive guitars I sold Joe Bonamassa it was an amazing 1960 Les Paul. It had a really nice flame top. It was just phenomenal. The guitar was just great. And so, but I had it for 3 months before he bought it. And I had it advertised, and I had all these rich guys from Florida and the Northeast call me on the phone and ask me all these questions. And they were like, well, I see that with it. So I want to lower the price. I don't know. It's not worth that much money. Yeah, okay. Why don't you drive it down to Florida and I'll look at it. And if it's right, what you say it is, I'll buy it, all that kind of stuff. And not one of them came through or followed through on all the stuff that they told me. Joe Bonamassa comes in the shop. He plays the guitar for 10 minutes. He goes, I'm buying it. It's like the difference.
That's just who I don't know who that guy is, actually.
Joe Bonamassa?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well. Everybody else does.
I'm
going to find out now.
I'm going to find out afterwards and be like, oh, wow.
He's one of the biggest guitar nerds in the world. And he's fantastic. And he's a really good, it's good for our business that he does what he does. He collects guitars. He has 2 houses that have these fabulous guitar and amp collections in them. And he has videos of him buying guitars and showing the guitars that he has. And he's just a nerd. I have his phone number in my phone. If there's just something I know that he's going to want, I can text him. He calls me sometimes and says, I got out one of those guitars you bought for me the other day, and man, that thing is amazing. So he's a really nice guy, very approachable.
All right. So outside your famous customers, your regular run-of-the-mill average person coming in for the first time, have you ever experienced someone coming to buy their first ever guitar and then later down the road they've progressed into music wonderfully?
Yeah. What's his name? What's the guy that plays? What's the name of that band? Oh, yeah. But yes, that I have a lot of people that either I gave lessons to them or I sold them their first guitar, and now they're playing in bands and they're doing really, really great. I sold guitars to the guy who plays guitar a long, long time ago for the Revivalists, and I sold Anders Osborne some guitars at the beginning of his career in New Orleans when he just first came to New Orleans.
Oh, all right.
I can't remember the name of the band that you would know. It's a pretty famous band from New Orleans, but a number of people. Yeah.
And how did that make you feel? Like after
happy,
happy,
just glad that that I got to know them and watch them grow. I mean, that's pretty special.
That's got to be a wonderful feeling.
Yep. There used to be a band, I don't know if you remember them, they were called the Cranberries. I think they're from
the Cranberries?
The Cranberries, with the girl that
sings the zombie song.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
they're persistent.
That's my phone answer. Well, they were one of the first really famous bands that came in my shop back in the 90s. They were playing in New Orleans, and their guitar player, his name is Noel. He came in and he bought a Fender Jaguar from me that I had, 63, 64 Sunburst Jaguar. And he gave us tickets to the show. And we went to the show, and they opened the show, and he was playing the guitar. And that was really cool. That was one of the coolest moments. I thought, this is fantastic.
Oh, they don't get much better than
that.
No,
it doesn't
right
get
there.
any better than that.
Mr. Steve, you are full of some wonderful stories, and it's really inspirational to see how you have touched so many different people throughout the years, and even touched me personally in your own way.
Thank you, Joe.
Coming in here and digging through your records, looking at all this amazing equipment, and just being able to look upon somebody that has done it and just pushed for your dream to be possible throughout all these years. And it makes me want to push even harder and be better myself, not just for the show, but personally, and just always do what I love. And I see from knowing you for 6 years now, that's always what you've done. And it inspires me too also.
Well, thank you.
I got a little bit more, Mr. Steve,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna let you go back to your day.
Okay.
What's a part of running a guitar shop that most people don't realize goes on?
Well, I mean, I've kind of already mentioned it. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but probably quite often we get a guitar or an amplifier in that it's hard to verify whether the guitar is all original or what it looks like one thing, but it's hard for you to. Hold on. I'm going to do this. Oh, he coming up good.
I'm holding you up from
no,
business.
no, it's all right. I don't know what that is, but what were we talking about?
Guitars and trying to figure out.
Right. So you have to take the guitar completely apart, and you have to make sure for some guitars that every single thing on it is from that year and that it's right. Or you have to determine what the guitar is because because it's not marked the way it's supposed to be marked. It doesn't have the serial number where it's supposed to be. It doesn't have internal electronics that you can look at it and clearly see what they are and what year they're from. And some of them, the guts or whatever, or the neck or whatever, the tuners were changed shortly after the guitar was bought, like in the 50s or the early 60s or the 70s. And they were replaced with parts that are similar or could have been the right parts, but they're not. And then if you send it off to somebody and they're going to buy it, they'll call you on the phone if they're a collector and they'll say, I'm sending this back because you lied to me. And I mean, it's like we do the best we can, but we don't intentionally lie to people, but sometimes we miss things, or sometimes they are not satisfied with it because they're so paranoid about getting ripped off, or sometimes they're right. And sometimes we just missed something, or, we didn't know. So we send it off and they send it back. So that's something that people probably don't ever really think about, how much. If you think about it, a guitar that you buy now, like a brand new guitar, if you buy a brand new guitar now and you look at it and you go, well, you play it for a little while and you think, well, the tuners are a little bit loose. I think I'll put some better tuners on it. Well, if that guitar ends up being a guitar that's collectible in the future,
you messed it up.
You messed it up. But that's people, and sometimes it doesn't matter because the guitars are so I bought a 59 Les Paul on a Sunday morning in New Orleans in the early 90s, mid 90s. I opened the news. I went out at 5:00 in the morning. I think my dog woke me up. I got the newspaper. They'd just thrown it. And I looked in the newspaper and they had on the classified section, they had 1959 Les Paul, $1,000 telephone number. I went right inside. It was 5:00 in the morning. I called the guy on the phone and I got an answering machine. I said, look, if that is really a 59 Les Paul and it's $1,000, I want to buy it. No questions asked. And about 7:30 that night, I got a call and he said, I got 60 calls on that guitar, but you were the first one that called. can you come over now and look at it? I said, yeah, I'll come right now. So I took $1,000 with me. I went to his house. Sure enough, it was a 59 Les Paul. The top was completely stripped. But it had all the right electronics. The back had been painted with a brush black, with a paintbrush, the whole back of it, the neck and everything. And I sent it to a guitar shop in Winnipeg, Canada, called the Fret Shop, where Joni Mitchell and Robbie Robertson and a lot of people took their guitars, Canadian artists took their guitars to be worked on. And I said, I just want you to make this look like it's an old 59 Les Paul and do it so it's all original and put new parts on it where you have to. And they sent it back to me. About 3 months later, they charged me $1,000 to do that. So I had $2,000 in it. This was in the late 90s. And I sold it to a collector in Europe for $12,000. And then I had a bunch of guys from Japan call me about it and offered me $16,000 after I'd already sold it.
Go.
So, I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah,
that's a guitar story. It doesn't involve a famous person, but
that's a hell of an investment right there.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Steve, I'm not going to hold you up much longer, but at the end of every show we like to do words of wisdom. And would you have any words of wisdom for the listeners out there?
Well, if you find something you love that you really, really love to do, and there's a business around it, do that, because you'll have things that happen to you during the process that, like the things that I've told you about, or things for me like meeting, Richie Havens. For those of you who know who Richie Havens was, he's the first artist that played at Woodstock in 1969. And he came in my shop and told me his life story and gave me a guitar lesson. And he was like one of my idols. When I was in high school, I had his albums, and I thought he was like, I never thought I'd ever meet him. And I got to be friends with him before he died. And that was just, that's just one thing. And then also, just being around musicians, I always wanted to be a musician. And so, I was a musician when I was in junior high school and high school, and then getting in the guitar business helped me to continue on in that and get to be around musicians and have opportunities that opened up just because I was there. I have so many stories I could tell you about how I got to travel all over Europe for years and years and years because a guitar player came in who knew a guy in Europe who was a guitar seller, and he had 2 guitar shops, and he introduced me to him, and then I just opened up. He knew everybody in Europe who bought and collected guitars, and he introduced me to all of those people.
I never knew you toured around Europe.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I know we've been all in the business side, but Mr. Steve is a legendary axe-wielding guitarist, currently playing in the Iceman special and in Holly Rock. And congratulations on y'all's Holly Rock album release.
Thank you.
And just know I have every copy of vinyl that y'all have ever put out, from Iceman to Holly Rock. And last night I was talking to China, and I played Holly Rock. I said, I gotta get in the mode. She's like, you've listened to that album almost every night since you've bought it. You're going to ruin it. I said, when it stops playing, I just buy another one.
Yeah. Those are beautiful records. Charlie did a great job of producing that vinyl.
Yeah. And like I said earlier in the show, make sure to come out to Fête de Void.
Next weekend. It's my birthday, October the 4th.
That's Saturday or Friday?
I think that's Friday.
Well, happy early birthday, Mr. Steve.
Thank you.
You're turning
74.
74. Congratulations. 74 cycles around the
74 trips around the sun.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Steve, for joining the show. It's a pleasure and honor, and hopefully we can do this again soon. But thank you. Thank you
welcome.
for
Thank you.
everything. Thank you for everything you've done for the music industry in Louisiana and around the world.
Thank you.
But
Bye, folks.
I'm Joe. What it do, Gators? And we out.
We out.